So I'm Tim from Dayles Ford. I've been at Dayles Ford for 11 and a half years, looking after the sustainability for Carol Bamford. I'm just going to talk about who we are, a little bit why I'm here and why we're here, and then what we are doing to address that. So who are we? That's Carol Bamford in the middle. She is the wife of Lord Bamford, JCB chairman. She has a farm shop in Gloucestershire, 4 farm shops in London. We're on Ocado, we're on Abel and Cole, and various other wholesale customers. She also has an estate in France with olive oil and beautiful rosé wine. She owns Bamford, which is a sort of lifestyle, well-being, spas, clothes, bath and body products, that sort of thing.
Sheep.
But I'm here really to talk about Dayles Ford, food. We have a farm in Gloucestershire in the Cotswolds. We have a dairy farm, a dairy herd, beef herd, sheep, laying hens, market garden, about 30 acres of market garden. And then in Staffordshire, just up the road, we have a herd of venison, another herd of beef, some broiler chickens, and more sheep. So we're in total, we're farming about 1,000 hectares in both locations. And we see that all the way through, from the soil, from the market garden, from the eggs being laid in the hen houses, all the way through the bakery and pastry, cheese making. We have our own creamery on farm. We have our own abattoir at the farm in Staffordshire, so we kill all our own animals. We actually have a single source of pork so put pigs, as you may have noticed, is the only thing we don't do, and we put them all through our abattoir as well. And then straight into our retail settings and cafes. So we're about 50-50 split. So why am I here to talk about Dayles Ford? We've just taken one approach. We're very fortunate to be in part of a family that's extremely driven to do the right thing from the very outset, hence why I was employed 11 and a half years ago when the company was still quite small, to do the right thing. But more and more is that becoming apparent. And as Gavin pointed out in that research slide, that health is the number one factor that time and time again is playing on people's minds when they're choosing food to eat. And we should all be thinking about that very carefully in the way that we do our farming and buying and so on. And then we keep on getting these sort of little flashpoints, and the latest one being Blue Planet. And increasingly we seem to be building up to that sort of realization that we're at a tipping point, a planetary tipping point. And these are all red flags, as Gavin points out, for customer confidence in your business, but also just resilience and the risk of your business. So rather than just seeing these as trends, we should all be learning from them and foreseeing them and predicting them and planning into our business so that we change not just reactionary, but change the culture of our business to be more sustainable. I'm going to whistle through these slides. You all know it, I'm sure, but unhealthy consumption is where we're eating nothing but highly refined and highly processed foods and nothing but grain-fed ruminant meat and, in my strong opinion, GMOs. And we all know the food, planet, and people triple bottom line analogy, and then how that plays out. Food being poorly distributed, low nutritional value, high calorie, and then people, whether it's on your own doorstep or further away, malnourished. There's a staggering statistic that I heard at the Oxford Farming Conference that, yes, we all know that there's a lot of starving people and hungry people in the world, around about 800, 900 million. But there's also the 1.5 billion people that are obese or overweight. And then there's that 2 billion people that are actually malnourished in one way or another. Maybe not apparent in their waistline, but aren't getting those essential vitamins and nourishment to keep them healthy. So we've got all the unwell and dietary sensitivities, coupled with a sedentary lifestyle and just the way that we're living our lives nowadays. And then, of course, the planetary issues leading to global instability. My wife's a doctor. She's also a nutritionist. And time again, she keeps on pointing at food. that could actually cure 9/10 of her patients that walk through the door. And so that's why she's done nutrition in the last 2 years. And it's staggering that the public health crisis is just right there in front of us, and yet there's very little being done about tackling it through the food supply chain. Food shortages, we're about to see some extraordinary effects of Brexit, no doubt. So price hikes, food wastage, interesting news from Mr. Gove yesterday. And then what does healthy consumption look like from Dayles Ford's perspective? So we're looking at local, seasonal focus, more veg, better meat. I love meat. We are a meat farm, but it's got to be produced right. And we saw the water impact of pork and dairy in one of Gavin's slides there, and we can't stress enough that you just can't go having a meat-focused diet all the time. It's got to be a vegetable-focused diet. And then, of course, organic. Now, organic it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but ultimately, when I say organic, it's a baseline of standard that you get past to prove that you've ticked a number of boxes in that sustainability box. And then, of course, the picture of how that looks for your business and the world changes, and we have a thriving, harmonious planet with plenty of taste as well. So what are we doing at Dayles Ford? So we pledged last year to, we refocused, we had a bit of a strategy rethink. Where are we having most impact within our business? Is it in packaging? Is it in our supply chain abroad? Or is it on our own farm? And we looked at all those touch points that we were making a difference, or making the most difference. Future farming comes time and time again at the top of our priorities and the way that we try and communicate what we're doing, and where we think we might be slightly ahead of the rest of the game. So that was the first pledge. Continuing to try and change the face of British farming, so actively lobbying and presenting a case for better farming in Britain. And then clean energy. We consume a lot of energy. We have a creamery, a bakery, cookery school, production kitchens, all on the farm. We generate our own electricity, but not enough, and our own heat. So that's a target that we set ourselves for the next couple of years. Packaging lightly, zero waste. The food supply chain is full of waste and packaging, so we needed to address that. Whether we're the best at it, we need to improve, or whether we've got something to be really proud of. And then, of course, for things that we're not getting from our own farm, sourcing responsibly. So how are we doing that? So, future farming. The top left there for you is agroecology. That's the Dayles Ford Foundations project. That's our charity that Carol Bamford set up about 10 years ago. All the funding goes into agroecology now to support the 27 steering group members from ADAS and Cirencester Agricultural University, right the way through to the Sol Association, Rothamsted, all the partners on agroecology, to try and communicate their best practice, their new research in ecological farming techniques, regardless of labels. Doesn't matter if you're organic, doesn't matter if you're biodynamic, worshipping the stars, whatever. If you are doing something that's utilizing, optimizing ecology instead of lots and lots of inputs to produce food sustainably, we are profiling on agroecology. And not just the research and sort of academic-led work, but also the farmers' interpretation of that, and so highlighting those best practice farmers as well. So I really encourage you, if you're interested in how agroecology and organic and leaf farmers and so on are progressing, and the new stuff from min-till and soil structures all the way through to optimizing water usage, reducing antibiotics, it's all on the agroecology website, and I've got some leaflets. Plug over. And then some innovative projects on the farm. So this is some of our market gardeners planting some kale in the chicken field. We had a 30-acre chicken field. And we recognize that you can't just get away with focusing on one crop in a system like ours. You've got to think about diversity and optimizing that land. So we are now following our hens in their fallow years with the kale, But then we've also planted 800 apple trees, 36 different varieties, so we're producing a fruit crop as well. We've got biomass trees, 2,500 biomass in there as well in rows. And this is all creating cover to encourage the ranging of the chickens, to enhance their welfare, hopefully reduce their stress. They're ranging more, less stress on the ground around the houses, and less parasitic burden. All in all, it's very symbiotic. If you can get out there, win a Woodland Trust grant, which we did, fully funded, and plant all this, it does actually start to knit together very nicely. So our 30-acre market garden that's producing, 30-acre chicken field that's producing about 1.5 million eggs a year is now yielding a whole lot more. Wetland creation projects, hedge laying competitions, beekeeping, all that sort of thing. We really take pride in. We have big summer festivals and harvest festivals. We get lots of people on the farm to come and see how we're sort of trying to nurture the landscape, and at the end of the day, we're custodians. Again, we've got a family at the helm that want to leave it to another generation, and it really does change the mindset. They want to be planting trees to see their grandchildren swing from them, or their great-grandchildren swing from them in 30 years' time. And then I couldn't help the old mugshot of us with Mr. Gove there. We worked very closely with Patrick Holden. We were talking about sustainability metrics, a bit of harmonization sustainability metrics. There's 400 odd metrics out there. And if a farmer had that sort of guidance to help him improve year on year and start benchmarking his water consumption, energy consumption, antibiotic usage, all that sort of thing, feed costs, diesel costs, and a very simple platform, how that could really help the farmer, but also help the supply chain understand how that farm is operating. And then ultimately, we've been throwing up an amazing opportunity with getting rid of CAP and reinventing it with something. So we were at DEFRA's door. Sourcing responsibly, well, we use the organic logo as our go-to benchmark for sustainable sourcing. All our restaurants or cafes are all 100% or 97% organic certified, and that just means that we don't have to try and apologise for anything that's doesn't quite hit the mark. We just get the Soil Association to do it for us. And then, of course, there's some wild things as well, some forage bits and pieces. Having the MCS Good Fish Guide as a benchmark as well. Never having anything from the Fish to Avoid list. Packaging lightly, clean energy, zero waste. No plastic straws. Straws. It's the way forward, unless you've got gluten intolerance. They are fantastic, and our customers absolutely love it. They really want to hear you or try something new. Okay, so if you bite them, they snap and they spray your drink all over you. But you get used to that. You start to respect the straw. Obviously, solar panels, biomass boilers, all that sort of thing for clean energy. Now we're looking at the sort of technology that we can have chilling off our biomass, have a generator off the biomass, and try and get that really holistic energy management on the farm as well, where we, as I say, do consume a lot of energy. And then the knock-on effect of some of our packaging initiatives, talking to our supply chain, our distributors who were previously just chucking their pallet wrap into a skip because they couldn't recycle it for all of their customers, tons and tons, costing them putting it in the skip, and now they're putting it through their baler, and they're taking it off our hands because we don't generate enough to put through our baler, and they're making a bit of an income to cover the costs of their cardboard compactor, their cardboard baler. So it's all about working with the supply chain and trying to come up with solutions. Something that we're really proud of as well is the Felix project that the Evening Standard have really got behind, but we've got a very enthusiastic guy in store that's been volunteering with them for a couple of years now, and really brought it to our attention. So we've been working with the Felix project to try and rehome some of London's food surpluses. They take some of ours when we overorder on spices or something, and that really sort of connects beyond our usual customer. And it's a great charity to get behind, and it was fantastic news when Mr. Gove announced his support for rehousing surplus food yesterday. So I can't believe I've managed to fly through that presentation quite so quickly. But there is clearly still a lot to do.